These springs that you see here are not the suspension springs, they're merely bump stops. The vehicle's jacked up off the floor at the moment, so the front wheel is free, there's no load on it. When it settles down, that gap closes up and it's just touching those springs. They're actually bump stops so that it doesn't bottom out. The main springs are on the inside of the fork tubes. Very thick material wall, this, 1/4 of an inch thick, which is about 6.5 millimeters steel. The dampers are fairly new, they're not used dampers, they were bought new. They're for originally mini, because there's no internal damping inside the fork tubes, so I've used external dampers because the forks are completely homemade. Disc brakes have yet to be plumbed. The black painted tubing that you see here is not really part of the frame structure. It is part of the towing system. And when I mean towing, I don't mean to tow the vehicle to venues, but to tow it back from the other end of a run. There will be a tubular section round the front wheel under the front nose section of the body shell, so a rope can be hooked to it. Also there will be a sort of trolley device so we can turn it around quickly. These bars are bolted to the bottom yokes, and the linkages to the steering in the cockpit attaches one to each side. Have a look at that, and from inside the cockpit shortly. There are lock stops underneath there, so the forks can't move any further, but there are secondary so-called redundancy lock stops inside the cockpit as well. Throttle pedal is here. I'll show it from the other side shortly. It operates a short arm on the other side, as you can see there, with the return spring on it, but there's also return springs on the throttle at the other end, at the engine end, as can be seen here. Also, as can be seen here, this linkage is the fuel valve, the engine fuel valve, closed and open. That's worked from a lever on the left hand side of the cockpit. As in here. Open, on if you like, off, closed. These little hooks that you see on the side there, and again there, and at the bottom. There's 3 on each side, and they're to lock the front nose cone down into position. They can be released for maintenance, and 2 levers in the cockpit. That is a lever down there. It's held back at the moment so the front nose section can be put on, and then it's got a little rod there to lock it. open, just lift that rod up, flirt the lever forward, one on each side, that locks the front end down. But it will also have a safety device on the bottom so it can't come up when not required. Now this lever here will be worked from inside the cockpit. Only moves a short distance, and that is to engage the starter dog drive. As you can see here, when the engine is running, the drive will be disconnected so that the chain from the motor to that drive dog stops, so the chain will not be running when the engine is running. Just a safety issue. If the drive dogs on the engagement system don't line up and they abut one another when I pull the lever, there's a button on the top there, so as I pull it I can just inch the motor round a little bit till the engagement is correct. This little device here is a step, just to make it easier to get in and out of the cockpit. It's an over-centre device there so that the spring keeps it down in that position, but when it's up the spring is pulling it closed. Got to be able to get in and out of here in 13 seconds apparently. Seat belt attachments yet to be bolted on, they will be there. The anchor points are made a piece of steel going right underneath the chassis. The belts will be on there, round the back, the shoulder, and one at the front. But they should be quick to release with a central latch. And then there's got to be straps on the arms to stop them flapping about so they can't go outside of the cockpit, but that can't happen anyway because there'll be doors on there. Yet to do those. I've got the instrument panel there. Radio so I can listen to the charts when I'm going down the track. No, really it's for communication, two-way radio, so I can talk to the crew. That's the steering. Handlebars, just easier to do it that way than to have something stuck in front of me, making it difficult to get in and out, or to pierce my chest if there's a crash. I know there's going to be seat belts obviously, but the least obstructions there the better. There's some Streamliners that run at Bonneville with steering like that, certainly two-wheelers. So we'll see. Somebody won't like it. I don't know if you can see that throttle pedal. I'll show another view of it in a minute. But if there was any failure of the springs, there's a hook on the top so I can bring it back with my toe. Just another redundancy device. Brake pedal is there, probably left foot. That's the fuel valve handle. You probably can't see it from there. I showed it before. All controls are easy to get at. There'll be another handle there for the tap on the tank, on the fuel tank. There will have to be a rapid shutdown, probably work from the parachute handle, with a switch as well, so that it cuts off the fuel supply to the burners, so there's a quick shutdown, although the engine's spinning at 13,000 and odd revs per minute. It takes about 30 seconds to stop spinning. Who needs a gymnasium? And you've got this. In and out. Not too bad at 77. But how long can I keep going? The view from the other side. Hope you can see that clearly enough. Brake pedal. Throttle pedal. With a hook so I can pull it back if any springs fail. Footrest there to put my foot on. There's a guide so that my foot cannot jam between the throttle and the underneath of the footrest, which is just outside. There will be a small control panel here with a start button and indicator switches on it. It's going through its procedures, starting up. That will be mounted there. That's the engine fuel valve on and off. There'll be one for the tank, petrol tap there. A roll cage has yet to be made, steel roll tube around there, and one further back with 1 3/4 diameter tubing, ludicrous size, but there you go, those are the regulations, and I've got to match it onto smaller tubing because this is a space frame construction. PS, it was suggested that I should have run the engine when I first got it, but that was about 20 years ago. I knew nothing about jet engines when I got it. I'm still learning a lot now. And I hadn't got the starter system, the aircraft gearbox or anything, or an exhaust. So it was impossible to run it when I got it. It was just a bare engine on a pallet. And that was, I say, over 20 years ago. It's been stood since, and I didn't want to embark upon this project until I'd done over 200 miles an hour on 2 wheels, which I've done several times, and that was my goal. So it was time now to move on. But at 77, I'm wondering how much longer I've got with the hip problems and other things coming along. But I've got an exhaust system to make yet. Fuel tank, engine drain tank, air intakes, and quite a few other bits and pieces, and get the starter panel mounted that was on an earlier video, and do some tests before I actually fired it up. I know a lot of the ultra crepidarians, armchair experts. Some of them don't want me to run it. I don't know why, what their problem is. But I only take advice and listen to what the jetmen have helped me with, and there's been quite a few of them giving me quite a lot of advice and practical help. So those are the people I take notice of, the rest can stuff off. So all the best till next time.